a quick look at our agenda for today. Hopefully we are going to get through as many reviews as we possibly can. When we had done this in the past, it goes by a lot faster than you think it does. So if we don't get to you, I apologize. We will do our best. We will also be recording. It's recording right now. So if you are not able to stay for the whole time, I will be sending the recording link out later. And assuming everything works, we will be able to send that out hopefully today or tomorrow. First, a quick shout out to our sponsors. Jason LD for SEO transforms your SEO with rich results, a program that allows you to show search enhancements such as review stars, price and availability in Google search, Bing, Pinterest, and other search engines. And then, of course, we all know Shopify. It's more than just an e-commerce solution. You can sell anywhere to anyone with Shopify's e-commerce platform and point of sale features. And I am going to put their links in the chat just in case. Okay. Upcoming events, I am taking a break for the month of July. We'll be back in August. I'm working on a speaker right now. But if you have any topics that you would like to see or areas that you want me to explore, please let me know in the feedback request that you're going to get along with the recording. It should hopefully come out, like I said, either today or tomorrow. This also really helps me to know what is working well and areas maybe that are not working so well, so we can continue to improve and provide valuable resources to you. So definitely let us know if you have feedback. I would really appreciate it. And then let's do a quick introduction. So I guess I'll start. I'm Ilana Davis. I am your organizer and Shopify Meetup extraordinaire. I don't know, is that a thing? I also am a website rescuer and call myself a Shopify superhero because it's fun to say. And Anne, go ahead and do an introduction, please.
Hello, I'm Anne. I am the co-founder of Design Packs, which is a Shopify app that allows you to add new sections and templates to your existing Shopify theme. And I've been in the Shopify space for a long time. I used to work for Out of the Sandbox, and so excited for today.
Awesome. Kai, please introduce yourself. No relation, by the way. Kai and I are not related. Everyone thinks that.
Yeah, let's get ahead of this. We are not related. Thank you so much. That's my introduction. Great to see you all, folks. I'm Kai Davis. I'm the founder of W E-commerce. I help Shopify stores grow with a focus on search engine optimization, SEO strategy, and just putting the right words on the page so your visitors and customers know what you sell and how it helps them. And I'm so excited to dive in and help give you all some actionable feedback to make your websites better, or at least less bad.
Less bad. Awesome. So, okay, before we jump in, we're going to do some sites right now. If you have just joined and you haven't shared your link, please do so. I'm going to randomly pick people as we can. I'll get through as many as possible, but I want to put this caveat out there for all of you and know that any feedback that we give is genuinely out of love and respect for the work that you do. Our goal is to provide valuable feedback so that you can go and work on your site. It is not personal in any way, so please don't take offense to anything that we might say. I've had folks in the past that try to defend it, and it's okay that if we find things that might be different from what you thought would work. That's the whole point of this. So we're here to provide the feedback, and whether or not you choose to implement it is completely up to you. Okay, let's go ahead and do our first site. I randomly, this is the problem with Zoom is it doesn't always copy. So we're going to try this again. There we go. Okay. So Anne and Kai, feel free to like do your thing whenever you want. Like you can interrupt and join. I'll let one of you guys go first.
I mean, the first thing that jumps out is that pop-up that comes up immediately, which generally you want to wait a bit before you sort of, you want to get to know people a little more before you sort of give them that discount. So that would be the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, I agree on that. The discount actually strikes me as a bit high. Like I agree, tone it down, have that pop-up show like after they browse a page or two, but $10 off of the first $10 off of the first order of 35. We're talking like a 33% discount here. Traditionally, I see like 10 to 15%. I think a higher discount can work well, but it's worth thinking through and just comparing it to your competitors and other folks in the industry. Monica asks, how long should we wait for the pop-up? There's been scads written about this, but really like exactly what Anne said, wait until you know the person a bit more. You don't want to ask for marriage on the first date, and having that pop-up show up immediately is a bit kind of like asking for marriage on the first date. I really like waiting until that visitor has browsed maybe 2 or 3 pages. Somebody stuck around that long, oh, they're interested, they like this stuff. Let's present them with that discount and see if they move down the funnel.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of at least at minimum halfway down the page before a pop-up shows up, or on exit. Some people have also done, as Kai said, 2 or 3 pages. I think ultimately, someone mentioned this, Jeremy mentioned this, test it, see what works best for you. It should never be the first thing that you see when you land on the page, but when is the testing thing for you and your customers. Okay. What else do we want to look at on this page here? You guys can feel free to tell me if you want me to navigate someplace too, but
let's see here. Yeah, let's scroll down a bit. Let's see what the page looks like.
I will say for me really quickly, if I can, the motion on a carousel can be really disorienting for some people, especially if they're trying to read the words that are on the above your image, and the motion in the picture in the background could be a little bit disorienting. So something I would caution.
One thing I would say too, just immediately looking at the header, is the navigation is actually hidden. So it's in a hamburger navigation, which I don't generally recommend, specifically for e-commerce, because you want people to be browsing your site and looking at the products. The other thing that I'm also noticing is the URL is in the logo, and it's very, very small. And there's the location as well, but it's very small and difficult to read. I'm even looking at it on a really massive monitor and can barely read it.
I actually didn't even see that it said Detroit, Michigan until you said that. I had to look at it. So good call out there. It took me a minute to even realize what the name was called too, because I couldn't read the font super well. So yeah.
Monica just asked, so if we have words on our slider, should we then slow down the slider?
Here's an unpopular opinion. No sliders. Just don't do the slider.
Yeah, or if you're really keen on the slider, have the slider be that someone needs to actually navigate it. So have arrows on either side, or a little sort of make it very obvious that it's a slider, but it's user
controlled.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Because what happens really is when someone lands on your site, they're not sitting here forever to wait for your slides to go through. They're reading this really quickly and then they move on. They don't sit there and wait for them to filter through. So unpopular opinion, get rid of the slider and highlight one thing, one purpose of that main hero image. Okay, let's keep going. I will also say that seeing the font on this one right here, this respect treating people, I can't even read it. I was going to try to glance at it as we were talking, and I have a really hard time with the text over the image, especially this right here. You can, if you pay attention to this one, it's right over where the logo sits on that image. I can't even read the text on it.
As an idea of how to fix that, one thing that you could do if you're working with a developer or try a different section for that grid, but make the opacity behind the actual text darker so that there's more of a contrast between the text and the background.
Alternatively, another option could be, instead of having the text on top of the image, have them side by side. So you have the image on one side and then the text that is associated with the image on the other. It doesn't really lend to this layout very well, but I'm just going to keep scrolling, but if y'all want me to stop on something, tell me.
One thing I noticed, we have another sort of slideshow gallery type thing. When you hover over, it looks like the second thumbnail isn't actually visible.
Oh, I didn't even mean to click on that. Yeah, you're right.
I really like I think there are some design and usability issues with the homepage, but overall I do like it. I like the way it's laid out. I actually really like the font. Yeah, the aesthetic is just A+, beautiful. I don't see a lot of content on the homepage for like an SEO for SEO goals. And so if one of the goals is, hey, we want Soul Be It to rank for terms like, streetwear or related things, I think you need a little more content on the homepage. If you like text blocks that just can share 150, 300 words of content relating to one of these topics. But yeah, I really like the aesthetic. I think it pops.
My advice would be to lean more into the aesthetic a bit more, because to really like have that showcased.
I'm looking right here, and it looks like in the footer there's the shop pay questions, which I get that you would want to answer the FAQ of around shop pay questions, but I'm not sure why that's in your footer as opposed to a page around policies or something like that. I feel like it's taking up valuable landscape that you might be able to use in other ways. Let's do a quick product and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
I'm also noticing as I scroll down, I like that your header up here, the navigation stays, but it's almost too much real estate for how much spacing is here. And so it really reduces the amount of visible space I have. So we're not looking at this on mobile. One thing I didn't say at the beginning of this session was that like typically when I do a review, I'm looking at it on mobile first. We chose not to do that this time just for the sake of easier visibility as to how it's meant to be laid out on a desktop, but you should definitely look at it on mobile. But I would be concerned if this is also taking up a ton of real estate on mobile.
I love that the measurements are directly on the image, so you can visually see that. That's fantastic.
My screen might be a little bit small too for viewing it, but it feels like I can't even see the image because there's so much. This is what I'm talking about. Like there's so much real estate. You can't see the whole image on it. I love that you have these bullet points here about your sizing and technology and that sort of thing. One thing that you could consider that helps out with SEO is turning this into a table of sorts. Google, if it sees it in its table, it might pull out pieces of it and add it to your search result as part of its organic result. So something to consider as well. Like bullet points, they might do it, but a table I have seen more often that they will use that as part of their search result as well.
I also really like that you have a light box. So when you click on the image, it gets larger and so you can zoom in. I think for anything like artwork or anything where you really want to see details, that's super important. So it's great that you have that.
Awesome. Okay. Any other comments on this, or can we move on to another?
Yeah, let's do another one.
Let's do another one. All right. I want to do.
Ooh.
I don't know about you, but I want to go there. Okay, so here we are again, pop up. We've already sort of discussed that. I'm going to dismiss it.
We've already discussed a carousel as well with lots of moving pieces right on the homepage.
Yeah. I do love the imagery though.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Sorry, Kai, did you want to add something to that?
The images are just beautiful and evocative. The text overlaid on the image, we have the same sort of like contrast, stand out. We have to squint. What is it? And like it really only shows up when we have a really light place in the image. I think we're going to cycle to one shortly. But I mean, if you have a slider on your homepage, it's always worth emulating a user on your site. Like grab your phone, go somewhere where there's really crappy LTE or 4G service, and just start poking around, pull it up and see like, okay, can I actually see the text? Are these images loading? Oftentimes I'll catch issues like, oh, the slider text is a little weird, by doing that sort of manual review myself.
I also was just clicking on this because I didn't understand. We're just sitting here. And so I was looking at this, but I think these are your arrows. And I would caution you to use icons or graphics that symbolize something that's not typical. I would not have known that that was an arrow just by looking at it. I just assumed that that's what it was. So it's something I would definitely be careful with. If you're going to use icons in a way of like, here's an action that you want to take, it should be something that is expected. Don't make people have to think about what that is. If you have questions, by the way, please feel free to put them in the chat. It's a little bit easier than trying to give permissions to speak. Just for the webinar, it makes it a little bit harder. And then that way we can also keep moving forward. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat.
I got a question for the panel. From what we've seen so far of We Are Lakebound, who is this site for?
I also add one more to that. What are they selling?
I don't know, and I don't know.
I think that's probably one of the biggest challenge for Shopify stores in the last couple of years. Like most templates, most themes I see, it's beautiful. It's great images. It's this full page slider. There's nothing that actually says we sell boating supplies for amateur boaters on the West Coast. I don't know if that's what Lakebound does, but just as an example, there's no positioning statement here. There's nothing to say, this is who we are, this is who we're for, and this is how we help them with our products.
Looking at this navigation too, I think that makes it even more challenging, because the first sort of category for me to shop by is by lake name, but I haven't even figured out what it is that you're selling yet, as opposed to like the products that you're wanting to show me. So one thing I would love to see is like on your imagery, I should understand what you're selling, and the content that you have, I should understand what you're selling, but also the shop navigation should be super clear. I shouldn't have to sort of figure out what that is. And then categorizing your shopping by what people search for. So is that apparel? Is that office supply? Like whatever that might be, like make sure that you're categorizing in a proper way so that people know how to navigate and they don't get this analysis paralysis by having so many options to pick from in your navigation.
I don't know about you guys, but I have like 14 lake names in my mind when I wake up in the morning.
I do not. Okay, let's keep going.
So look, I clicked around a bit. It looks like they sell lake maps. So let's click into one of these.
I think it's sort of lake gifts. Yeah, like it's sort of the map on different gifts, which I think is the gift aspect is super interesting. And what I would recommend on that homepage, rather than having sort of prints, barrel ends, wood metal signs, I think these do make incredible gifts. So categorize on the homepage, or have somewhere where you're categorizing the collections on who these gifts would be for.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Are these anniversary gifts? Are these graduation gifts?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. There's so
Mother's
many categories.
Day, Father's Day, whatever.
I absolutely love that idea, because it's the sort of thing where if I really like this gift or this idea, who could I get this for? I want this for somebody. Who could I get it for? And then it just sort of kind of comes together. I'm going to go back to the collections.
You actually create landing pages for different occasions and have those collections put together would be really fantastic.
Yeah. I almost want to say for your collections that these images are almost too small. You can make this a 3 grid instead of a 4 grid, because they are such a cool idea that you don't want it to make it so that you can't see it. And people might know, like now that I understand like the type of products that you're selling, people might want to search by lake name, so I can understand that logic. But when I first land on it, like I don't know that that's what I would have chosen.
Oh yeah, Monica has a good point that this would be a really good idea for Airbnb owners for decorating their.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things that I've sort of noticed with the navigation is when you go into one of these sort of subcategories, like just the pillows, for example, you're sort of losing the ability, like I guess you can, there's still the byproduct type, so you have everything there, but I'd be curious to go into an actual product. And I think one of the benefits of this type of site is wanting to be able to kind of like navigate around to different types of gifts that you can sort of add together and bundle and sort of cross-sell, which I don't see a huge amount of that here, other than the you may also like, which is only pulling from, it looks like it's just pulling from other map prints as opposed to pulling in pillows that are also for Acadia National Park.
So it's sort of pulling just from like that one category the product's in, rather than being intelligent enough to go across.
Actually, I'll take it back, because it does look like the first 2 items are are sort of different categories, but then the other 3 aren't. So
in a sense, like And maybe we just haven't explored far enough in the website to see this. And I know, before I said, I'm just going to say this is a ton of work, but maybe a collection per lake or per top 20 lakes, where it's like, oh, here we have a Fern Ridge Lake near me. So I'll use that as an example. Here's all the Fern Ridge stuff. You got the pillows, the bar tops, the barrel tops, the maps, which would help with SEO.
Yeah. And I just kind of wanted to add to the collection piece here. It may make more sense that instead of using your collections as a navigation is to create filters of some sort. And that allows people to filter by different sizing of your canvas, or by the size of the clothing that they want to purchase, or something like, or like if it's home wares or something like that. So creating filters might make it a little bit easier to navigate and then see similar or like products that might fit, even if it's not the same exact like lake that they're looking for.
Okay. And also, Mary clarified that the you may also like is based on region. So for example, all of Maine lakes. So I think maybe making that just a little bit clearer would be good, part of your region or what have you.
Yeah, you may, or similar, or in your region or something like that. Like, yeah.
One small thing I do want to point out, if you go to our story, it's beautiful. It's a really good example for anyone else that's on the call to see a really good example of an about page.
And this is such great you-focused language too, like that content on the right side there. Like
up here, yeah.
Yeah, if you're reading this, you're probably a lake person too. A+, Mary. Like you hit a home run with this.
Yeah, so take some of that and put that more on the homepage, I would say.
Definitely. Perfect. I love that. Okay. Let's move on to a different one. Oh, my copy doesn't always work from. There we go. Okay, right off the bat, I feel like there's a ton of content, which is usually nice, but it's almost too much when I first land on the page. I don't know if anyone can see me when I first did it, but like I sort of backed up a little bit and was like, oh, what am I looking at here? So I almost feel like you need to break this out into more digestible content. Paragraph form like this is best in a book, not on a website. So like find different ways to maybe it's not full sentences, maybe it's bullet points, or maybe you're just creating the same piece of content but stretching it out throughout your entire homepage. I haven't even gotten farther down, but just this initial part, I feel sort of like it's a little bit much for me to take in.
Oh, please, you first.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say one thing that sort of jumps out at me is when we talk about the you versus my language is I actually, when I'm reading this first paragraph, I don't know whether it says use my electric sprayer. I don't know whether I would be purchasing the electric sprayer or hiring you to come clean with the electric sprayer because it's yours. So that's one thing that jumps out at me. The second thing that jumps out at me is the navigation. I sort of get what you're going for, where it's kind of cute, the sort of like what, how, who, why, who, me. I wouldn't recommend it personally. You just, when someone's going to a website, they want to have clear, especially for navigation, they don't want to have to think about it. The more clever you are, the more they have to sort of go through that. So I would sort of just make it very, very obvious what those navigation items are.
And before you jump into that, I just wanted to highlight it because this is what you're talking about is in this paragraph, you have to describe what to do for the navigation. If you have to explain how to use your navigation, it's not done right. Sorry, Kai, go ahead.
Oh, no, you guys actually hit on the points I was going to share. And I completely agree. Like the navigation, even just like change the why to safety or the who about me, like tiny tweaks there. You lose some of the cuteness, but if cuteness becomes confusing, it's no longer serving you. And it feels like we're very much in the confusing area with that top nav. I had the same exact initial reaction as you, Anne. I thought this was a services page on Shopify. I was like, buy my, I'll clean your house. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And it's not quite that. I don't hate it, but it definitely needs some polishing on the copy front just to make it clearer.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
Same thing even on the free shipping on my electric sprayer, which is up on the
up here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere just remove that.
Maybe the issue here is like Spray Second Story really just needs a brandable name for this product. We're calling it, My Sprayer. Maybe it needs to be, Spraybot 3000. And suddenly a lot of these weird wording changes click into place. Whereas like free shipping on Spraybot 3000, and we can understand, oh, this is the product, not my product.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually think the product page for what? It has some issues, but it does a lot well.
Wait, where's the product page?
If you click into what?
Oh. Okay, thanks. I was expecting like there to be like a collection of sorts farther down, and there wasn't. So I would say really quickly before we get in the product, add some content to your homepage. Like really tell me more about what's going on, why I should listen to you, why I should purchase your products, what products are you selling? If it's just this one thing, highlight that on your homepage. Don't feel like you have to bury it, because I was expecting more and I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of links, to be honest.
Yeah.
No call to actions on the homepage.
Leanna has a great question. Does this only work on vinyl? What about hardy board, wood, etc.? So I think that's a great way. That's a great question to be able to address early on, of like, what is this used for and how do I use it? Don't feel like you have to bury that.
I think you need an FAQ section.
Yeah. I think even here too on your photos, you could be adding more photos of like the actual usage, because I get like this is what it is, but maybe people need to see the parts. Maybe they want to be able to look at the nozzles and see the type of I don't know. I've never used one of these before, but I'm just saying like maybe they need to know, like, I'm looking at this nozzle piece and like, is that important to them? Do they need to know? It looks like you have two different types here. So being able to see the different pieces would be valuable as well.
Or even just like a video embedded on this page where it's like, hey, from unboxing to we have filled it and we are spraying the house in 10 minutes. Like that would communicate so much that I think this text and the images are not communicating.
Yeah.
I do like the sprayer is fully assembled. I liked, ships complete. You don't need to buy anything to make it work. There's good copy here. Yeah. It's just a little cluttered and it's a little hard to slice through to find the good copy.
Oh, there's a lot of copy in here.
You should never say to address this weakness of my offer on any of your product or sales pages ever.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Instead of saying to address the weakness, make the offer better. Don't be like, I know this is a crappy offer. Here's what I'm going to do about it.
And really, sorry, Anne, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, even having a warranty, some people may not even expect a warranty, but as soon as you point out that there is no warranty, they may think, oh, why isn't there a warranty? But if you just don't mention that there's no warranty, or
have it on a policies page. I think it's good to have it so that people know what they're getting into, but maybe it doesn't have to happen on your product page.
Yeah.
But just right here, like it says that I assert this pump will last for at least 100 hours. Don't say I assert, just say will last up to 100. So then you're creating, when you say I assert it will last this long, you are creating a guarantee. Like you're saying that that's going to happen. And then if it doesn't, you're putting yourself in a tough situation. So either don't say it or do and own up to it. But I think there's definitely ways to articulate the same thing without creating these paragraph forms that is essentially saying, I'm going to say this in a negative way and I'm sorry. This comes out as I suck. And I'm really sorry that I suck. And you don't suck, because clearly you have a business that is doing well. So show the good things that you're doing and don't highlight the bad things, because you can still work past it all.
Oh, Monica in the chat just shared, it comes across as doubting. And I think that's an excellent framing of it. It feels like you're doubting this product is good enough, when really that first sale needs to be to yourself. So you're like, hell yeah, my electric sprayer is the best one. Let me tell you how it's the best one.
And I genuinely would think that you would believe that, because if you didn't believe that it was the best one, why are you selling it? Like, so I think you believe that for sure. Okay.
I do like in the footer how you have, because a lot of people leave this out, which is the contact us, the refund, privacy, and shipping. That's great that you have that in the footer. Terms of service could probably be capitalized. But.
I also, one of the things that I look for when I look at stores is to make sure that they're local to me, or that I know how, like, they're not going to be out of Australia if I'm going to order something and I'm from Portland, meaning that I want to know that the shipping is going to be a decent shipping price. I want to know that it's not going to take me months for me to get my products. I want to know that if there's a problem, I know who to contact. So having the location, if you can, having a contact number, not just a contact form, those are all trust factors that I think would be really helpful. And Leanna pointed out a really good point too. Going back to the product page, it's really the text is really wide, that you, again, going back to the whole, you're reading a book versus reading a website. Try to keep it to around 80 characters in width if possible. That's like the best reading for a website. But if you go longer, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But having it in a paragraph form can be a lot harder to digest. Okay, any other thoughts before I go on to the next one? Cool. Let's see if this works. Right away, I feel all happy.
And then the pop-up appeared. We are no longer happy.
Yeah, I'm not happy. Sorry, Monica.
I do. It's interesting to see some stores gravitate towards, hey, we're going to give you the coupon code, get on our email list, and others just saying, hey, here's a coupon code, have fun.
Yeah, and I do think that there are, I have to move. See, this is where the carousel like makes me dizzy. I apologize.
Can I comment on the one thing about the carousel though? So the carousel has text that's embedded in the images. So that means that while it looks great for the design, the text can get really small on mobile, and also you're not getting that sweet SEO juice from that.
If y'all can see me, I literally have to like hide it because
okay, that's all. That was my only point.
It makes me dizzy. I'm so sorry. Okay, what does that mean? So what's happening is on the image itself, when you create your image, you have text in the image itself. So there is no words on the page for that image. And so Google, if Google was to see that, they don't see text, they see an image. That's what that is talking about. So she's talking about getting the text off of the image itself and putting it on your website. So using a heading or using a paragraph text and putting it over it or underneath your image. So I wanted to go back and talk about why I had to move off of the carousel really quickly. It's moving so quickly. I suffer from migraines, and when that stuff moves so quickly, I literally cannot focus. There are definitely people who believe that carousels drive conversions and they drive sales. And I'm telling you, for the folks who have some form of a disability or a visual impairment, it is cumbersome and it will make them leave your website. So please, please, please consider that before you actually put on carousels on your page. It also slows down your site. So they're not exactly like, they're not that friendly. I don't know who said that was a good thing, but it's not.
They kind of end up popular because it's like a compromise. It's like, oh, which of these 3 images and value propositions should we have on the homepage? Why not all of them? But then you aren't like, oh, we have the sum of their effectiveness. You really have reduced effectiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I would also say that the contrast on this bar up here is really difficult to read as well, the blue with the black text. So keep that in mind when you're looking at how legible something is the text and the background color needs to have a high contrast.
Oh, and just in case you missed it, Jan, owner of the site, just dropped a link into a collection product page that she's interested in.
No, that's a different one.
That's different.
Oh,
that's a different one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jan's back for more. We did Jan's last time. She's hungry for more.
For this site, one of the things that I always recommend for a homepage is you want to appeal to people who are first timers. So like, hey, this is where you want to start. These are our best sellers or what have you. Those who are looking for a deal. And then I always forget the last one, but basically there's the 3 different people. I'll think of the last one, but essentially like, where's I know. So the new stuff. So people that are returning, they want to see the new things. People that are first timers, best sellers, and those looking for a deal, sale. So I don't see much of that represented on this homepage.
I would also sort of add a contradictory thought in that when you add sale to your site, you get the people who are always looking for the deal. as opposed to the people who are willing to pay what you're worth. So I don't disagree with you, Anne, but I think part of that is also who your brand is and what you want to represent. So for me, I never put anything on sale. My services are what they are. I would never discount them because it feels like it discounts me. You don't have to have a sale item, and so don't feel like you do. But if you want to target that market, that's totally fine too.
Another way of doing it is sort of like last chance, where maybe they're not on sale, but they're end of stock, or you're not going to bring them back.
Yeah. I see Monica's question and I want to address that in a second, but I'm sort of hovering and stopping this carousel from moving because I want to talk about the navigation really quickly before I scroll down, and then I'll answer your question, Monica. You don't need home in your navigation menu. It's sort of redundant because most people, what they're going to do is click on your logo to get to the homepage if they need to do that. But also keep in mind that customers don't necessarily know what a collection is. A collection is a terminology that is around e-commerce and around Shopify, but Shopify calls it collections. Other people call it categories. So instead of using collections, think of a different term that makes sense for you. I'm going to see if I can do this. There, I wanted to make it go away. So like if it's animals, angels, and flowers, can you just have like shop by type or something like that instead of the word collections?
Or shop by theme.
Yeah. Okay. So Monica asked, how do you do this without sliders? I'm guessing you mean just like banner images in general. How do you do them without sliders? The easiest answer is just create one image at the top, your hero image, and then use the rest of your space that you have, because guess what? People will scroll and create more hero images farther down the page. There's nothing that says you can't have another hero image farther down the page. And all I'm seeing on this is products. There's no content whatsoever. So for SEO, you're doing yourself zero favors with this.
I think for layouts, grids are really nice. Columns are lovely. And an image next to some text is also a really good way to show some content.
Exactly. All right. I want to pick actually, let's look at a collection because now I kind of want to do that. It's interesting how this one, I think this maybe is a mistake, but for aesthetics, I would create this one to have the same white background as opposed to your lifestyle image first. But I do love your hover as that you can flip to see different versions of it. It's really good. But I would say this image could just be the white background. Any thoughts on the collection?
I'd love to see, well, a couple of things from the SEO perspective. I realize SEO is probably not a priority for the site, or I'm assuming it's not a priority, but a couple small things that I think would help improve usability here. So we have a headline or I think Shopify calls it collection title on the page of just animals. But is this collection of cats, dogs, like actual animals I could buy? Not really. It's more, objects with your animal art on it. So a different headline there could make sense. And just adding, one or two sentences as a collection description here, describing what's in this collection. Hey, this is, the theme category of animal related glasses, tumblers, etc. It'll just help somebody who lands here or gets linked here know, oh, what am I looking at? Animal products like this, rather than having to scroll and deduce that themselves.
So Monica says, I'm overwhelmed with SEO, so I've avoided it. Can we take a step back really quickly and say SEO? All you have to do with SEO, this is the top secret to SEO. You ready? Worry about your users first. Worry about your customers. If you create a site that is a good usability for your customers, you will also do well with SEO. So take out the technology, take out all of the stupid terminology that people throw out there. Just try to create a site that makes it easy for your customers to navigate and understand what it is that you're selling, and you will do wonders with your SEO.
The one bit I'll add to that, sort of like the second secret ingredient, is you need the words on page. You need content.
Exactly.
And focus on usability, have a good dose of content there that just describes what this is and, has relevant words in it. You're doing 90% of SEO right there.
I would say that the collection description is very underused on like 70 to 80% of sites that I've seen. Barely anyone ever fills out the collection description, and it's a very easy way to get text on page.
Definitely agree with that one. Yeah. Any other thoughts? All right, let's move on to the next one then.
All right.
If I can copy and paste. This is like a test. Can I copy and paste? I can. All right. What are your thoughts on this one?
This one has a similar problem from the first site that we saw, where that the sort of tagline, like I have vintage and industrial, and then it looks like a barcode, but I almost thought that was text right away. So anytime where you have your logo that has those small elements that are really difficult to read, it just makes it a trickier experience for people.
I'm trying to figure out what this is.
Yeah, I can't. Is that a? It
almost,
links to.
It almost sort of looks like an old leaderboard. Remember those, like the sort of flash banner animations that used to be?
That's what I thought. At first I thought it was an ad of some sort, and I was like, wait, what? So I think that's a big red flag that I would have, is I thought that was an ad at first. Had I not been doing this for the purpose of looking at the site, I would absolutely have not clicked on that. So if that's something that you want people to click on, I don't know that they would. Maybe test it and actually see if people are actually clicking on that, but I'm not so sure. I also go ahead,
please.
No, go ahead.
I like that it clearly says, like, you know, what they're selling, the sense of authentic vintage and industrial home decor. Like, it's tiny, it's up there, but like at a glance, you could be like, oh, what do they sell? Oh, I like vintage and industrial home decor. Let me go a couple steps deeper here.
Yes, and I think that it's really, I don't know if it's sort of pushing for that keyword vintage, but it seems a little overkill to have vintage, etc., vintage industrial, vintage signage.
We're talking about the collection or the links here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they definitely have taken a whack at SEO here, but they've gone a little too heavy into what I see as keyword stuffing. It's not criminal, but exactly to your point, the shop vintage with vintage, I don't know, 20 times on the page here feels a bit high.
And if you look at all the products also,
I was just going to say, yeah.
They obviously want to rank number one for the word vintage. But the funny thing to me is, if they ranked number one for vintage, it probably wouldn't do them any good, because that word isn't as relevant as like vintage home decor, which is longer, less traffic, but much more specific.
I'm going to go on a sidetrack for a second. Okay, good. What I was doing was testing to see that, where'd the reviews go now? I wanted to see, there we go. It popped up. It took a while. You have reviews at the bottom of your page, but when I hovered on it, the link was going to stamps.io, and I wanted to make sure it actually take me to your product page, not to Stamps information. It does. That's good. So I love the fact that you have the reviews on here that take me directly to a product page. What I don't love is how small this text is. It makes it really difficult to read. So if you're going to use their widget, maybe only do 2. So if you need to make them bigger that way. But you also have a lot of extra space that's over here that's wasted, because you have all your collection filters on this side. And so you're actually reducing the amount of space on your page to be able to expand that out even farther.
One thing that I've noticed, if you go to Vintage Globes, the Vintage Globes collection, so there are quite a few items that are sold out in this collection. And when I go to the actual product page of the sold out item, because these are vintage, I'm assuming they're one-off, you can't actually get, more of that exact same item in. It's fine to keep that product up and listed on your site. And you do, if you click on the Vintage Scholastic World Globe with Art Deco, in the actual product description, it says, okay, it has sold out. And then they say, but you might be able to find a similar item. That's good. And I would say keep that listing up, but remove it from the actual collection. And you can add conditionals to your collection so that they won't actually appear in the collection list.
Yeah, and I would also say too that the link is actually really hard for me to see. I didn't even notice that was the link. I was looking for the link that you were referring to. So with links, try to make it either so that they stand out. It could be something like a underline underneath it or a different color so that it stands out. Using color by itself, like this is a gray compared to the black font, using color by itself to designate a link is actually not compliant with web accessibility, but a lot of people do it anyway. So if there's a big enough contrast, you could still see it, but this is pretty similar.
Yeah, and same thing with the also with accessibility in the where it says if you scroll down slightly where it says click contact me. So you want to avoid any use of the word like click here or what have you. It should be implied. And also, again, using that language where it's, you know, contact us versus contact me. You always want to be using that you language.
Yeah.
Or I guess us is also me language.
But I mean, yeah, but I mean, you could just say contact to be notified or like, you know, reach out or something like that. But yeah, saying click is assuming that everyone's on their desktop and most people are on their mobile device the first time. And so you could just get rid of click altogether or say select if you need to have something, but select would be a better term. I still wouldn't do that here, but yeah. I think overall though, honestly, having all of these collections on the side here is really overwhelming to me. I feel like maybe I'm like boxed in or something. And so I feel like I almost feel claustrophobic with the site where I just don't really know what to do. I don't know where to go because there's so much happening that I feel like I just want to leave.
Yeah, I'll strongly agree with that. From a technical SEO, from a technical perspective and an SEO perspective, I like the shop vintage links, but I agree there is so much going on in the viewport right now where anywhere we go, it's like, I got breadcrumbs, I got links, I got calls to action, I got images. It's too much. Like cleaning up the theme and just saying like, oh, maybe these links are important. Let's display them in a less obtrusive, but still relevant manner would do a ton just to make the website more usable and feel, I don't know, it's almost like walking into a vintage store in like a smaller town and being like, oh, there are things everywhere. I need to look around. Where am I? What's going on? Which on one hand could be great for the aesthetic. On the other hand, could be not great for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
One thing that I do love is in the sidebar, not necessarily that it's in the sidebar, but I love that it is there on the site, is the featured in. So building that like social proof and sort of authority that you have been featured in other sites is really great. And one thing that I really like, where you could pull this into the homepage as sort of its own section, which I think works quite well, is pulling out if you have articles that you've specifically they've used, pull out quotes talking about how great your store is or what have you directly on your site as opposed to linking to them.
Yeah, I actually didn't even see this, so I'm glad that you pointed it out because it just sort of blended for me. One tip for you all, if you have featured in, instead of definitely link to their stuff. That's great. Link to their stuff, but also have a page that has more content. If you can't have it on your homepage, kind of like what Anne's talking about, have like a press page or something like that. So these featured in link to your press page so that you can add content to your site. And then that press page can link to theirs so that you get a link out. But it allows you to add more content to your page. But then also a tip is to take like a screenshot or print it to a PDF in case their link ever breaks. That way you still have the ability to highlight that featured in down the road. All right. Any other?
One from the SEO perspective, I just ran their site through one of my tools, and their collections are actually ranking decently well. Like their vintage suitcase collection is number 10 for vintage suitcases. Yeah. So while they are a bit heavy on the keyword optimization, it is paying off for them, and they are doing a lot of things right here. Collection descriptions, lots of internal links, relevant headlines.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one. I could see that would be super beneficial for them. All right. Anything else? All right.
Ooh.
Okay, I have something right off the bat.
Go for it.
And this is something that I've just sort of learned more recently from Baymard, which is, so obviously we have the home in the navigation, not great, don't really love that. But the shop and journal, this site has a very like direct to consumer. I want to know who's behind this brand. So I would recommend adding an about right to your homepage navigation so that I can find out who's behind this brand.
I agree with that one. I think also a lot of folks stress a lot about the about page and worry so much about what it actually says. Like any about page is better than no about page. So keep that in mind. Like something is better than nothing, but talking about who you are and how you came to be is all you have to do with regards to your about page. So don't overthink it. Don't feel like it has to be this big thought out thing. Like oftentimes it's a matter of someone asking you like verbally, hey, how did you start your business? And whatever you say to them, type it out and put that into your about page. At least it gets you someplace in that direction.
And apparently there is an about page. It's just not in the main navigation.
And
I would, in the footer.
Yeah. And I would say I actually prefer about pages to be down in the footer. I don't love them in the top navigation because I want your top navigation to be shop focused. But in this case, you don't have that much up here. So you could easily fit it.
Well, and specifically for this, I agree. A lot of times I recommend, okay, if it's a bigger brand, you can put it in the footer. But because that main sort of text in that banner is made by hand, that's what really caught me. And like, oh, well, who's making this by hand, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
What do you all think about breaking shop menus out into individual top level listings? So we've got shop with 10 or 12-ish. What about breaking 4 of those out and then it's like shop others and it displays the remaining? So maybe it just goes like bamboo ribbon, narrow silk, wide silk, shop others with the rest.
Go ahead. Ann.
Oh, so yeah, I think sometimes you have to it depends. I don't know how much inventory is here because sometimes what you can do is get a little bit too drilled down into showing collections that maybe only have 3. So, but I do think that there's probably enough ribbons, for example, to have a navigation menu that's just ribbons. And then craft supply, gift cards, that kind of thing. So yeah, you kind of have to sort of see what's going on with the inventory, but I also prefer having those top level navigations as opposed to having everything nested in the shop. Or if you're going to have everything nested in the shop, at least break it out into a mega menu or something so that it's visually easier to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am so glad that you asked that question, Kai. I think I would also agree. I would probably do your top level as ribbons and then samples and then crafts or something like that. Like those might be my 2 main shoppings that I would do, just so that I don't have to do an extra click if I don't want to get that far into it. Susanna's asking what a mega menu is. A mega menu, and so right now your menu drops straight down. If you look at this block, it drops straight down. What we're talking about for a mega menu, it becomes horizontal. So your menu becomes right to left instead of top to bottom, if that helps. And I think, she just...
Great link, Ann.
Thanks, Ann. I would also say, though, mega menus are good if you have a lot of items in your navigation. If you only have a handful of items in your navigation, it becomes overkill. And then what happens is that because it's so wide, it only takes up like 1 row of like a block in here. And then it becomes almost unnecessary to have a whole mega menu.
So one thing just with this collection name, blushing doesn't really tell us much about it. Is it related to the color? Is it just sort of like a fun name? Is it the title of this grouping of ribbons? So just being a bit more descriptive.
Yeah. And I would say too, I don't know if you have reviews on the site, but if you do, I would love to be able to see the review stars directly on this is not a collection, this is your homepage, but like it's still a collection of products, but showing the review stars directly on here, I think would also be really beneficial. But also what we talked about before about having maybe only 3 products wide instead of the 5, because it makes these images a lot smaller.
Yeah, I'm personally not actually even a huge especially when you have these like like these sort of like, you want it to be an experience of a shop. So having that large collection just directly on the homepage, like here are my products. I think that when you want to tell your brand story a bit more, it makes sense to sort of feature, like talk about what are the benefits of your product rather than here are the features, here's exactly what you can purchase. Like we haven't even gotten to that point yet. So I would say tell more of a story on your homepage.
I love that you said that. I think oftentimes what happens is that store owners are trying to sell the product first instead of solving the problem. Your goal of your site is here because you are solving a problem for your customers. They are looking for a particular ribbon, right? Solve that problem. Don't sell the product first.
Mm-hmm. Like, what's the occasion you would buy these ribbons for? Like,
exactly.
Oh, see, this is a lifestyle. Like, this is beautiful what we're coming up on here.
Yep.
Yeah. Although it is a carousel.
I clearly have opinions about carousels.
This is right here, like that last, that's gorgeous.
I also am noticing that you have the same image. I don't know which image that was, but it was the exact same image that was here. So if you have more variety in images, I would love to see that. But this is kind of what we were talking about before, is you could pull out every one of these in the carousel image and add individual, like just like this, right? Where you have a image on the left and text on the right, or you can alternate them and create text around it. So you can highlight all of those images at once without having to wait for the carousel to go.
I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this as well with my app, sometimes you assume that people already know about your brand and they already know why they're buying when they come to the site because you're so familiar with everything of your product and how amazing it is, but you really need to tell that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's look at page or product or whatever this is, collection. Again, this feels like a lot for me. And I would love, you have 138 products. I would love to create a filter of some sort. So this is like all your products, which I get, but when you have filtering by I'm guessing these are probably tags that you've created. This becomes a little bit overwhelming for me. Well, do I want blue? Do I want blue gray, blue ribbon? Like, what's between blue and blue ribbon and blue silk ribbon? Like, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. So decide like how people shop through your store. Like, are they going to shop by color? Create a filter, color, and then allow them to filter out based on color. Don't make them have to look through this long list. Okay, I'm going to pick a product.
It looks like they're still using the debut theme. So I would highly recommend updating to another one of the sort of free Shopify themes. So you can have the filtering that Ilana was talking about would be improved so much if you switched to, if you updated your store.
Yeah, and Anne and I have chatted a lot about the the implications of updating your store to what Shopify is calling a 2.0 version. Like, it's worth it if you can, but it is a bit of a legwork to do it. So yeah, Monica, that's a good, I was just looking at that too. Monica says the images look a little bit dark, and I would agree to that. I feel like they're not a very good depiction of what the actual ribbon looks like. I would maybe want to see a closer up image, but it could also be that that it is dark or that it's blurry. I can't quite tell if it's just a poor photo, and I can't click on it. I can't zoom in.
Can you right click on it and say open image in new tab?
It's still,
yeah, I think
it looks like
it's both.
Yeah, it's both. I think it's just, yeah.
I'd love to see like a couple more action shots. Like if the idea is, let's say I'm a dressmaker and I make, crowns and dresses for weddings or bridesmaids, show me this ribbon in that dressmaker studio, being incorporated into something or just used however it would be used by the end customer here. I think one thing I've missed throughout this entire site is who that end customer is. Is it a bride? Is it a bridal party? Is it a dressmaker? Is it someone else? Answering that question, I think, would give a ton of clarity about who this is for and what other marketing changes need to happen to effectively reach them.
Absolutely agree with that. And then going back to the review piece as well, like, again, there's no reviews on the page. And so when I'm someone, if I'm creating something that I would need a ribbon for, I want to know like what people think about it. I would want to know like, is like the texture, is it what they expected it was going to be like? So having reviews is not just about did people like it or not, but it also can help sell your product for you, because the reviews are going to tell information to other customers about whether or not it's a fit for them, and it helps to sell things for you. I did see a question in here someplace about reviews. The best way to do reviews on Shopify is to use an app. Don't try to code something yourself. I've seen people ask me about that in the past. It's not worth it. So I would absolutely look for apps that you can choose. There are lots of different ones. So find the one that works best for you, because there's no good answer. Cassandra says, what does it look like exactly to show a person they are for, photos in the product listing or other elements.
I like text. I'll usually default to text. And so you might have come across the concept of like a positioning statement. Sometimes it's in more the consulting space than the e-commerce space, but it's just like a sentence, a headline on your homepage that says like, we help target market solve problem with our products. We help dressmakers make gorgeous gowns to celebrate the bride's day of their life with our beautiful ribbons. And that's, a hacky off the top of my head example, but a piece of content like that just on the homepage as a headline or a short paragraph can do wonders here. And then from there, you could expand to, oh, we know who this is. Let's get some photos showing it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts or anywhere else you want me to go? Actually, I'm curious. Let's go to the FAQs because this might be the first one we've seen with FAQs.
I'd say overall, this site actually really excites me because it's clearly like super high quality ribbon product, and there are some gorgeous photos and that kind of thing that could be used to really sort of elevate the whole experience. So I think there's like the actual ingredients are there. They just need a little bit of
yeah. And I like your FAQ. There's a ton of space. I'm not sure what's happening here, but there's spaces in between each of your FAQs and then at the bottom. But overall, I think your FAQs are asking and answering the right questions. So good job with that too.
There is an Instagram element that's a bit broken there on the FAQ page.
Oh yeah, check that out. Instagram. Can I voice my opinion on Instagram stuff like this? So a lot of folks, what they've done in the past is granted this one's broken, so you can't even see it, but what they've done is you'll have like a little grid of Instagram images that if I click on it, it takes me to Instagram. What I actually love about some of the newer themes, especially, but even the ones, if you don't do a free theme, they often have like grids that you can do where you can add an image that looks like an Instagram, but instead of linking to Instagram, you link to the actual product. So it keeps people on your website and not sending them off to Instagram instead. So something to think about as well. All right. Any other thoughts on that one? Let's move on.
Got about 25 minutes left, I think, on the clock.
Oh, we're like zooming through these. I hope you guys are liking them. Hey, that's not what I wanted.
Nettle Silk, round 2.
Round 2. Hope you're ready. Oh, I just lost it. Where'd it go? There it is. Oh, well, that works.
Ooh. Okay. I saw the URL and I was like, please be a watch that shoots a laser. Please be a watch that shoots a laser.
Did you have dreams of little James Bond?
You will have my money by the end of this presentation, dear merchant, if this turns out to be a watch that shoots a laser.
Kai also has a cat, so I'm sure that's what he wants to use it for, is for his cat. It's nothing else besides that.
Excellent clarification. Non-lethal laser, display only, cat safe laser.
Cat safe. That's what someone needs to brand right now, a cat safe laser.
I do agree with Amanda in the chat. Great above the fold, like it has a slider here. It's manually triggered. We aren't like auto rotating, and like we instantly see it's a pretty watch or a beautiful watch. It's watch weapon. We could see premium watches. Like this does a lot right.
One thing some people think it's a bigger deal than it is, but accessories is missing a C.
Mm.
Wait, I missed that. I'm sorry.
It's ACC.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I no longer will endorse or purchase this product.
Sorry to whoever. So I didn't even see the name of whoever submitted this. So I do actually, we've talked a lot about the navigation. I think this is a fantastic navigation menu.
It's interesting that it doesn't expand until mouse click, which is not a standard sort of interaction model. But I kind of prefer it. Yeah, instead of being like, oh, there's 5,000 things.
There's so many times, especially with mega menus, there's something about them that when you hover and it takes up the entire height of the page, and then like the only way for me to get off of it is to like completely leave the page altogether. It's super frustrating. So I actually really like that you've done that where it has to be on click for it to open up.
Here's a bit of weirdness. Ilana, close the clocks menu there's no way to close it without opening another menu or clicking into that top level option, if that makes sense.
I think you just have to click off of the menu.
No, because I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah, that worked. Oh, sorry.
It could just be user error.
Most likely is.
I do love this menu though, like having your options over here on the left. And then this is kind of what we talked about before with the mega menu where you have these product images, but I love the way you've done this with the reviews and the pricing directly on the navigation. So if someone wants to search by all of your alarm clocks, they could do that, or they could come here. These, I'm assuming, are your top sellers, but maybe don't have a sold out item on your menu.
Mm-hmm. That's in fashion as well. So
yeah. So something to think about. I do love what you've done. I'm guessing this is probably a lot of custom work because I don't know of a tool that does that automatically. I sort of skipped the homepage. Sorry. Did you want me to?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Anne.
I'm sort of going a little rogue. I have it open in mine and I'm on the About Us page.
That's why I literally like skipped the entire homepage, so it's fine.
But I noticed that the About Us has a date on it, which seems a bit odd to me.
Because it's a blog.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense to have a date on your About Us page.
Yeah, no, it doesn't at all. And also, I'm not sure why it's a blog. Why not make it a page?
Yes. And the fact that it is centered text makes it incredibly difficult to read.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. See, Amanda just had the same thought. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the clear branding on the site. It's watch weapon, homepage above the fold. We have a guy with a watch, but like we got clocks, we got fashion, we got accessories. I think of these as like boutique Shopify stores that go really wide in some senses. And I think the value is like go in niche. If I owned like kaiswatchweapon.com, I would just make it as explicitly focused on like watches as possible. I get the value in like expansion revenue because if they buy a watch, they'll probably like a nice suit. But it always feels to just end up this weird muddled mixture to me where like we're kind of selling a lot of things for guys instead of we are the one-stop shop for, high-end men watch.
I don't know
I would
why
like that
you
suit
have
though.
This writing on top of the image. I'm guessing maybe it's your way of like what's it when you put the writing on the image so people can't copy it?
Watermark.
But it feels a little bit out of place compared to the rest of them. And like, why does this one have it, but the other ones don't? But it only caught my eye because it was over his skin. I could see the writing over his skin.
I think they might have swiped this image from another site, not in a malicious way, but since I see like a brand name in there, that doesn't look like Watch Weapon.
I couldn't read it. But I do agree with you, though. It feels like it's a little out of place for the suits. The concept of the fashion makes sense because you're kind of creating a whole look. So I understand that, but the suits doesn't. On the homepage, I think it doesn't make sense to me. So I'd be curious, like, how many people buy something other than a watch or a clock from you?
And if those are first purchases or like repeat purchase, since the funnel is like come in, buy watch, come back, buy suit, wonderful, you're golden. But if not, then it gets confusing.
Yeah. Just to circle back to this, I know that Anne mentioned it on the about page, but center text should only be for headings. When you get into the content, the actual body of text, it should always be left aligned.
And something about sort of the actual text that's in there as well. It sort of has words, but it's not really saying anything, if that makes sense. It doesn't really say like where these products are coming from, who is the company, how long you've been around.
Can I also just say we,
yes,
we. Oh, there's a you.
But it's followed by a we.
We.
I think it's hard for brands to take a position of like, we sell high quality products for the bargain conscious. I'm like, these are two very distinctive things. Like, are you selling a high quality, high end watch? Or are you selling a high quality bargain watch? Like, And on the about page, I just see it like trying to thread that needle. And I don't think there's a way to do it well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Do you want to add something else? Go ahead.
Oh, just some super, super small, but on the product page, there is a sort of drop down select box as opposed to having buttons. So it's more visual to see which ones are sold out or available, those variants.
Yeah. So we're talking about this part right here. If these were like little bubbles instead of a drop down, it does create a much better usability.
Mm-hmm. Swatches. Thank you, Amanda.
Swatches for watches.
Swatches for watches.
Homepage title is one last thing I caught my eye. Homepage title is watch weapon - watch weapon, which I run into very frequently where folks just end up with like the brand name twice in that homepage title. You could edit that in homepage settings. Just give your homepage like something else, even if it's just as like generic as like high quality watches and watch accessories. Get that in there.
Yeah, because many themes will automatically like append your brand name at the end automatically.
Yeah.
All right. Dang it. This copy and paste is the end of my world. Okay. Okay, so this is like the fourth site, I think, where we've landed, and I feel like I'm landing on a collection page instead of the home page. And my initial reaction was to want to click on the logo to get to the home page. So this kind of goes back to what we said before about selling or solving the problem, not selling the product. When someone first lands on your page, your goal, it doesn't matter what page I land on, even if I land directly on the product page, solve my problem first before you try to sell me the product. Also, the navigation menu isn't tiny.
And we're seeing some themes emerge as well with the logo that has text on it that is very small and very difficult to read. And also no tagline as well to tell us what you're all about. Like, why, who is this for?
And especially when you look at a company that sells like t-shirts and that sort of thing, it's really easy to get caught into the drop shipping sort of concept. But this, I can see your brand on it. So even if it is a drop shipping concept, like you're trying to sell a brand at this point. And so make it something more than just products. Like tell me who you are and why I should buy from you, and create that story. And if you don't have a story, you're going to have a really hard time standing out above the crowd.
Simon Sindek's material, I'm just Googling it right now. He had the TED Talk a while back that was talking about like the golden circles of why, what, and how. Like, why does your business exist? What does your business do? How does it help people? I'll find a link and drop it into the chat. It's a great video to watch, but I think it's a great way of thinking about this challenge. First, understand like, okay, who's out there that we're trying to help? And then 3 or 4 steps down the funnel, these are our products to help that person. Here, I'd be like, exactly like Ilana said, make Majoy like make me think, oh gosh, this is what I want to be part of if I want to be part of the next generation of fashion. And that trickles down to buy these socks.
Yeah. And then I mentioned this when I first landed on the site, that I felt like I was landing on a collection page. That's literally all that it is. It's just collections. I think they're products. I don't even think they're collections. There is zero content on this page. And when I say content, I mean words. So what's going to happen is that you create a meta description for SEO, which is the little summary that shows up in a Google search. Google's going to say, nope, that content that you've added to your meta description does not match the content on the page. And so they're going to make up their own results in Google search, which often happens to be the first product that's on the page. So then it's like whatever is here, or it's the code behind it. It doesn't even make any sense. It becomes your meta description in Google. So content, adding words to a page is so important to make sure that you're showing up properly in Google, but also, again, what we said before about telling me where you want me to go. What do you want me to learn? What do you want me to do when I land on your site? Because right now I feel like I'm just supposed to pick a product and buy. I don't know what I'm doing on the page. There's no direction for me to go in.
There's no about either. And I just went and Googled to see, is there a brick and mortar store? Is there like what is the story behind this brand? Because I'm in Canada, so if you go to the very bottom, it says next generation of fashion design in Montreal. So, okay, that's intriguing to me, but there's no other information besides that.
Can I switch the topic for a moment?
Yeah.
There's sort of a category of Shopify store that I'm trying to like label in my mind, which is like, it is basically a checkout page for Instagram driven brands. And so I just popped over to Majoy on Instagram. They've got 69,000 followers. And so I think some of the issues we're calling out here doesn't have a lot of content. It's not clear about who it is. They might not actually be relevant for this brand because, on Instagram, folks are engaged, folks are following, folks know what's up. And when they have a new drop, it's like, oh, I'm going to click the link, go and buy the thing. So I think it's an interesting perspective.
That's a good call out. And I think it's important to recognize that not everyone comes to your website for the first time. They've heard about you from other avenues. I guess my counter response to that would be, sure, Instagram maybe is your number one seller. That's how you get sales. But what if you did more on your site? What if you improved your site? How much more could you do? How much more product could you move? How much more people can you impact and change with your products because you've put effort into your site? And of course, I'm assuming that's why you're here, right? I'm assuming that that's where you want to go. You want to get more sales directly from your site instead of Instagram. So
I think that's why a lot of marketers recommended, to focus not necessarily so much on social media, but more on sending out email blasts, working on your own website, because that's your land. Otherwise, you're building your store on someone else's land.
Yeah. I sort of mentioned this at the very top of the page, but the text on here and your menu items are really tiny. So font size should be a minimum of 16 pixels. That is the best for usability, but also just for people to be able to see. Like, I don't know what it is about people that want to create tiny font, because even if I have the best eyes in the world, like you want to like people to see your stuff. So don't hide it behind tiny fonts, make it bigger. I know it feels huge, especially I'm guessing this is probably a 12 pixel or something like that. When you go up to 16 pixels, it feels gigantic, but I've had people make that shift and it has a direct impact in your sales. So I promise you, it'll be a good thing for you to do. I also love that you have the ability to change the currency down here at the bottom. And if it's English or French, which is essential for Canadian customers. So nice job.
The font size is 12.32 pixels.
It's like I knew it or something.
My eyes just fell out of my skull trying to read this.
Okay. Let's look at, okay, so same here. Make sure we're left aligned.
I want a Gao the Gorilla shirt now. It's just a cool shirt.
It's glow in the dark. Okay, so there is some cross-selling of the bundle.
Whoa, this is a lot happening here at the bottom. A lot happening.
I wonder how that's functioning for them, if they see a lot of engagement with that widget or if it's just sort of dreck.
And this to me takes away, like, I think the aesthetic seems to be sort of like this high-end fashion brand, the prices are this amount. And so adding in these widgets that haven't been styled to match the style sort of takes away from that.
It's just interesting that it's an add-on all the way down here.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually have two different like add-ons that you're trying to promote.
Yeah, that one looks like a frequently bought together.
Yeah.
And then the one below looks like a 10% on like the add-ons. So
like I almost might say like put this only on your cart page. That might be that's where I might put something like this, but then I still wouldn't have this many options. I think that's a lot for somebody to process. So frequently bought together. I agree. I think that's what this is up here. That's fine here, but then maybe only put this on your cart.
And I think too, with these sort of add-ons, they don't really make a huge amount of sense. Like you're already buying a t-shirt. Why is the other add-on a t-shirt when you have accessories that are socks and sunglasses and wallets? Those little like upsells to increase the average order value of the cart, you want them to be a little bit smaller and make sense with the thing that's already in the cart.
Yeah, almost like offer a curated experience. We recommend these as add-ons rather than. here's the sock drawer, here's the
right,
t-shirt drawer.
because at the moment you can really just have like, here's the collection, right? It's just, here's the rest of the t-shirts if you want another one.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes. I would love to see if we can fit one more in. So let's do that. Okay, we've already talked about pop-ups, so, and given the time, I'm gonna skip over it. But I just wanted to say this almost feels like there's too much happening on this pop-up. There's a lot going on. So you could almost just get rid of one of these images. I would probably say like get rid of this one, even though she's actually putting on makeup. But if it's mommy makeup, you want to highlight the kids. So something to consider. Okay. There's a lot happening in the top.
There's so much happening here. Did the notification bar just, yeah, that, oh,
Yeah.
sliding notification bars are like, they're small enough that it only catches my lizard brain. And I'm like, there is danger somewhere around here.
I also just got like the audio of their pop-up at the same time that you said that. And so it was really just perfect timing for that to happen. But yeah, the slider of the announcement bar is just as bad as the carousel image sliders. So something to keep in mind too. Pick one announcement that you want to highlight, one thing that is important for me to see, whether that's the free shipping or whatever. A lot of folks have been told to put this Afterpay and ShopPay on the top here. I don't know that that drives sales. It is an added bonus, but I don't think people purchase because you have Afterpay. Also, I'm getting a lot of like pop-up audio. You guys can't hear it because it's in my ear, but this chat box that's happening, it's like popping up and I'm getting the audio at the same time. This is overkill. Like, I don't know why you're talking to me. I don't know why you're popping up things in my face to come chat with you. If I want to chat, I will chat.
If you're ready to get very angry at a web page, Ilana, I recommend scrolling down a little bit.
I'm afraid to.
There's
really
a
quickly,
lot of movement.
Can I also just say this right here, that having this 2 in your title up on the top, this will actually change your result in Google as well. So I believe this is from Shopify Inbox, which I thought that they made the changes, but maybe this is a different chat. But this is altering your title tag. And it will actually, if you go to Google search and actually look at your results, I would be willing to bet you have like a 1 or a 2 in your search result. Okay, I'm afraid to scroll down. What do you want? Oh my God.
Oh, the sale prices were bouncing earlier.
So just as a Canadian person coming to the site, I'll post a screenshot of it in the chat, but I actually have 3 pop-ups layered on top because it is telling me I'm coming from Canada, but it's coming in twice. So I'll post a chat so that you can use, I recommend seeing what it looks like for other visitors coming to your site because not a lot of people remember to check that.
Yeah. Is it like one of those, do you want to change it, your currency pop-ups? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but there's 2 of them.
Yeah. So one thing I would caution, because I haven't had to experience that on this call yet, but when you have those pop-ups around the currency, or if you're automatically detecting based on their IP address as to what content you want to show, don't do that. Google doesn't want you to do that. And by automatically detecting that, it could actually create search results that you don't want, or it could cause problems with Merchant Center if you're doing ads, like that sort of thing. So I do not recommend having the auto detection for IP. Just let people select on their own. If those who need it will alter it if they need to do it. Okay. This is an aesthetic thing for me. The different image size for your products. Actually, I think your images are the same. It's the length of your titles. And so it's causing some of your sales prices to be all off kiltered. And so if it's possible, I would say maybe like truncate the amount of words that you have on here, especially when you have these long titles, just so that they all can create consistency. That might be more of a me thing, but I like to have the kind of the straight lines. But because you have so much happening with the sales and the 10% off, that it just kind of highlights the differences of the layouts even more. Okay. I love the icons, but I feel like that could have been higher up on the page, especially for makeup.
Yeah. Maybe even that, like right above the header image or the slider image there, just hit on these points, make it easy for a visitor who's landed and not yet scrolled.
I think what's missing for me is, again, this is weird. There's not enough white space.
Yeah.
It feels very like condensed for me.
It feels like a PowerPoint presentation I would have made in high school. Like there's way too much going on here.
I don't know. I'm kind of going to disagree. It's supposed to be
you think so? Yeah, no, that's fine. Disagree.
Only because this is supposed to be like, it's a, the impression that I get is it's a, and this is, I'll coach this with, to me, it's a very, this is where I come to get discounted makeup. This is where I come to get makeup that's on sale. I'm going to get like really amazing prices, you know, like it is fully discount. And I think that that's, at least if that's not the impression that you want to give people, then definitely it needs more white space. It needs to look a little bit more elegant. But if the idea is that, hey, I'm going to get a deal here, then I think that's coming across.
I love that point. I think you hit it on the head. That's a really good point. White space creates this like higher level of a brand. And so if that's not the kind of brand that you want to be, then sure. Like I could argue that point too. I guess my thought around it is that I don't know where to look because there's not enough space for me to process what I'm seeing. So I agree with you, Anne, actually. I totally do. I just don't know where to go because there's so much happening.
I'm usually a fan of longer homepages for SEO and conversion reasons, but this keeps going, and I'm not sure what the most valuable thing for me, if I was a customer, to click on, like what's the path I'm supposed to follow here? And it could be like the path is buy some of our high quality discounted makeup, done. But I'd expect there to be more like, go to this page, check out this collection, more of a
It
flow.
does. Yeah, it does keep going. I think that maybe the homepage could be less on the products and more on the benefits around it. Maybe that's the easiest solution. Yeah. Okay. I think we're about that time. So I want to put up the contact information for all three of us. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Anne, Kai, or myself. We are happy to answer whatever questions you have. So thank you so much, Kai and Anne. I really appreciate it for all your thoughts. And I appreciate everyone who shared their links and were subject to our our feedback. I think it was hopefully very helpful for you. But if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.